Welcome back to Medina County, Texas GMRS. Lots of cool things to talk about in this episode. We're going to finalize the tower install, so that is completely done. This might be a little bit different video, maybe a little longer than you're used to, since we have to talk about all aspects of the tower. We're going to go over it from start to finish. A lot of you have been asking a lot of questions, so I'm going to answer all of those here. And then we also hit 1,000 subscribers. Really exciting stuff. So grab a cold one, grab a soda, grab some popcorn, peanuts, whatever, and watch it. Ask more questions, and let me know what you think. Let's get started. All right, well, let's get to talking about this tower. So I did have to make notes because there's a lot of components of this that I want to speak to, things I've been asked about, and this has pretty much consumed every day off from work over the course of the last at least month, if not a little more, having to go pick up parts and pieces of the tower and everything. So just want to make sure I touch on everything and give y'all accurate information for those of you who decide you're going to put one of these up, and really that's the first thing I want to talk about is the purpose. Why did I want to do this, right? We had a repeater up. It was kind of working. It was adequate at best. But our group of folks out here in Medina County, we have officially become a React International charter. So more to come on that. And we needed a form of communication that was reliable and a lot better than what we had before. And the only way to do that was to get this repeater up higher. As I've talked about in all my other videos, our biggest challenge out this way is terrain, right? We're very hilly to the north, a little bit to the east. South is pretty flat. West is adequate, flat. Oh, hold on. I'll put my coffee way over here. Here's my dragon ass cup. So we needed a better communication system. We have the Vertex rack mount. You probably noticed already that I've moved it. So, and you'll get to see all that, but it's up on the shelf in the corner nearest the tower. It's kicking out just shy of 30 watts. Of course, we could do better. Believe it or not, that VXR 7000 is kicking about 8 watts more, which 8 watts doesn't sound like much, but 8 watts is 8 watts, right? So we're going to tinker with it. Might be upgrading the repeater itself, but what we have right now, after everything's been said and done, is pretty much what we were looking for. So that was the purpose. So there, I dropped it for those of you who've been dying for the news and what we started. That was it. The Medina County, Texas React team is what we are. We're already on their website, got our charter number, we're official. So that's the purpose. I started planning this, I don't know, well, I've been thinking about it forever because I knew the antenna and the pole we had just wasn't enough, right? So planning was one of the hardest things because you just can't stand up a tower. And well, yeah, you can. I guess you can just stand up a tower. But if you're going to do a permanent install with it buried in the ground only, not the tilting base, there's a lot of things to consider. I went with the tilting base because those of you who've seen my physique, my fat ass is not getting up there, right? I'm not climbing it. So I wanted something that would tilt, that we could service when needed. So when you tilt it, you've got to have a winch. You possibly need some kind of pulley system. You've got to have room to lay it down, right? And the way you're laying it down, you've got to have something behind it to affix the winch and the pulley system that you come up with. So the best option I had, and I'm going to take the camera outside here in a little bit and give you more pictures. And I know I've shown some of this stuff already, but this is kind of the complete video, so to speak. So I may show you some redundant stuff from part 1, 2, and 3, but just to kind of wrap it all up, this is, you know, I'll show you again, and sorry if I bore any of you. So I had about 70 feet to play with going the direction of the house, where I would not get tied up in the electrical lines that service my parents' house, which sits in the back. There would be plenty of room, and I had something to affix the winch to back behind it, directly behind it. I was going to use the peak of the roof for the pulley, and so that's the direction I went. I could have laid it down in an easterly direction, but that would have made me have to install, and I can't remember the name of the pole, but I would need a pole to attach the winch and the pulley to, and I didn't want to do that, right? I already knew I was going to have to dig this 3 foot by, at least 3 foot by 3 foot hole to bury the tower in, and the pole that would have had this winch, the hole would have had to have been just as big, if not bigger, because all the weight's on it. So I was like, no, let's just use a good old oak tree. So y'all are going to see how redneck this really is. And don't laugh at me too hard. You can pick on me in the comments. I'm okay with it. So purchasing and cost. I can tell you, we've only been doing this with the group, right? I mean, I've had a repeater up, the Poor Man's repeater up for 3.5 years. But as far as this group goes, it's only been about 8 months. I have met some of the best people ever. So any of you who I've dealt with, and you know who you are, I appreciate y'all, and you are part of this success. So thank you. People have sold me things. People have given me things. People have traded me things, and they've all been very fair. And there's one fella here local. I don't have his permission to give his name. He is a professional tower installer, radio guy. I don't know what his title is, and I'm sorry. But this guy is a freaking wealth of knowledge, and just one of the nicest guys ever, and he's been a big help. So, and I'll put a little tally mark over on this. Wait, I'll put a little tally mark over here to give you a total cost. And I don't have the exact cost written down. The first section of the towers I bought, it was a damaged tower. It had fallen over, so I knew all the pieces weren't going to be usable. I think it was 6 sections of the tower and the top cap. I paid $400. I bought the base plate, the pivoting base plate. That was $3 something. I bought the antenna, and we're going to talk more about that. That was $600. But spoke to a lot of the local ham guys, and they said, listen, if you want the best, get an exposed dipole. So we got the Surecom exposed dipole, and I'm going to tell you, it's working great. The best antenna I've used so far. The Heliax was sold to me. I got about 75 feet of it for $50, along with a connector, along with a male connector. Those things are $80 a piece. I had to buy the female connector. I found 2 of them for $80 used. I bought 2 because I know how I screw things up, so I wanted to have an extra. But I'll pull it out of the back because there's a story behind that Heliax. Some other miscellaneous coax, maybe $100, connectors. The conduit that's at the top of the tower, that was $50 or $60. It's not cheap anymore. It's the thinner walled 2-inch conduit, which sleeves right into that top cap. I mean, what other expenses do I have? I mean, those are kind of the biggest. I mean, I had to buy some other little things here and there, maybe $200-300 worth of extra stuff. Don't tell my wife. But I went used with it. I mean, I was trying to work on kind of a budget, and You know, all of the help that everybody provided, though, you know, I couldn't have gotten it down to that total without their help and all the guys in the community. And I need to give a shout out to all the guys who came out for like 3 or 4 weekends in a row to help me put this up, right? I could have done it myself, but it would have taken me double, triple the time. But Paul, Bill, my dad, Aaron came out. You know, I mean, I couldn't have done it without you. I know I've said it on the Facebook group. Y'all are probably getting sick of me saying it, but really, I couldn't have done it without all my team, right? So thank you. It's greatly appreciated. So let's talk about the install. So I'm gonna flip you around. We're gonna go outside. I'm gonna take my notes. I can't take my coffee. I can't hold everything, but I'm gonna flip the camera around. Oh, it is St. Patty's Day. I'm wearing green, by the way. We'll flip you around. We're gonna talk about digging the hole. We'll look more at the base plate. I got a story behind that. We talked about the used power pieces. I'll show you the pulley system and the winch. The guy wires, I decided to add guy wires, even though it is braced to the side of the shack. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about putting it all together and lifting it up. Lifting that. We'll talk about it in a minute. All right, I'm going to flip you around. I'll be right back. All right, so give you a look at it. Got it grounded. I've got to paint that wire. Oh, all the way to the very tip top. It is 61 feet. So let's go back to square one. The hole, right? So it is 3 foot by 3 foot by a little over 3 foot deep. I went ahead and the bottom is belled out very wide. This ground here where we are is very soft, and I didn't want it to, you know, move. So belled it out at the bottom. There ended up being just at 900 pounds worth of concrete, rebar, everything in that hole, right? We've talked about this base plate. I know I talked about it on the video before, and it was expensive. It was $350 with shipping, and when we only had this about 25 feet in the air, we only had a few sections on. Paul and I were going to stand it up after we got it on there, and you know, not thinking, we had unlatched, you know, these back two bolts. We had loosened the 2 hinge bolts, and amidst our working on the tower, we had it laid out here. I guess I had kicked one of these bolts, or I had kicked something up underneath the hinge plate there. And so we went to start cranking it up, and I'm back in the back working the button, and Paul's watching it, and he goes, "Okay, it's stopping," and but the tower was still had a real good lean to it, and I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. Why is it stopping? So I come back up here, and just the pressure from, once again, 3 sections of tower, just 3 sections of tower. These things only weigh about 40 pounds each. And the pull from the winch, it had dented the bottom base plate, thrown everything out of whack. And I get it. I mean, it's steel. You got a winch pulling on it, but you know, some of the other things that we had noticed about this, we actually had to modify. Let's see if you can see. one of these tabs wasn't welded on. You can actually maybe see a gap. There's a larger gap in the back than in the front. We had to move this. When we when we did that, this side had actually pushed on this. Well, there you go. Now you can see, had pushed on this tab. It cracked the weld, and you could tell it was a cold weld. Their weld from the factory had not even burnt into that bottom plate. So Paul went around and re-welded everything that they had done. And listen, I don't mean to be negative, but dang, if you're going to charge people, you know, $350, and Paul said it himself, and you can see other YouTube videos. A lot of people make their own hinge plates. I'm not that skilled, so I went ahead and paid the money, but I just figured there would be better workmanship on that hinge plate. So so that's the story behind the hinge plate. We had to disassemble everything, hammer everything back, weld everything back, and it's good to go. So, and I've talked about this before. We had to decide how we were going to mount this. Were we going to guy wire it? Were we going to buy the, I don't know, $400 bracket that they sell? And their bracket was out of the question, and I didn't want to run umpteen sets of guy wires. So looking over the manufacturer's recommendations, you have two things you can do. If it's a freestanding, you can do a freestanding tower, and at so many feet it doesn't even have to be guyed. These things are meant to sway several feet, believe it or not. Go watch videos on them. It's out there without guy wires. But with a hinge plate, you've got to do one of two things. You either have to, number one, guy wire it, or you have to have it braced against a building. As you can see, because of the direction that this lays down, it lays down straight that way, okay? Because of the direction it lays down, their bracket would not work because it's offset. It's not parallel. These aren't parallel to the face of the wall, so their bracket was out of the question. And I think I mentioned it in the video before. Paul came over, Dave came over, and we're sitting here brainstorming. And I'm going to flash you some pictures of our brainstorming session and the drawings. I wish I had the ones Paul took home, but Paul had this whole thing worked out in his mind. He came up with this. So this is some really thick steel that's bolted to the outside. He made the same plate. It's bolted all the way through, sandwiching the studs and the wall between both. He made it with two adjustable arms, so you can adjust either side to make sure that it's setting plumb. I was going to say level, but I bet I'd have been corrected. So he has these adjustable nuts, bolts and nuts, U-bolts on the front, right? And let me tell you, I'm shaking it now, and you can maybe see the one dual band antenna wobbling, but this thing it's solid. It's solid with that bracket, right? So that's their suggestion is. Or what has to happen, recommended, right? So that's all that was needed, and then you can go up, right? But as you can already tell, I have some guy wires on it at about I think it's 42 foot, 42, 52, yeah, right at maybe a little over 42. I went ahead and put guy wires, because listen, I don't want to kill my chickens. My mom has some stuff back over there. I don't want to take anybody out with a falling tower. So we went ahead and put guy wires on it. Thought I saw something. Never mind. Guy wires on it, just for extra stability. All right, and once again, they say you don't have to, but we had a storm blow through here last night. I would say the winds probably got up to about 40 miles an hour. I was watching it from the door, and that thing did not even move. Manufacturer does suggest if you're going to do guy wires only, I think they have to have, I think it's almost 400 pounds on them each. I can tell you these do not have 400 pounds since it is not only held by guy wires. They are nice and taut just for that extra stability up top. All right, so let me see. So let me give you another shot here of everything. The tower pieces, I did want to touch on that. Even though they were used tower pieces, some of them I did cut. You have to make sure you cut them at the bottom. You cannot, I mean, unless you're a professional welder, I wouldn't recommend cutting the top, but the top is neck down and the bottom will slide on. So there are a few pieces, trying to get you a close up there. There are a few pieces that were shortened due to some bending. I made a template to put new bolt holes, and it all went together fine. There were a few pieces that you would have to hammer together, so you would get it all lined up, and I'd take a 2x4 to the other end with a small sledgehammer and hold the 2x4 over the end, and just and you don't have to hammer them in. It was just kind of tapping them in, coercing them in, right? And then there were some pieces up at the top that, I mean, they just slid on, and they had a little bend to them. They were used, but they went on there like they were made to. So, you know, there's nothing on here that is bent. There are no welds that are cracked. Anything we saw that we questioned, we would either not use it or cut that particular section off. So let's move on to the winch. All right, so taking a look at the winch, I'm going to try to zoom in. I have some pictures I'll post. You can see the pulley. That's at about 12 feet. It is tied off to the tower there. There's a little bit of tension on it just for that extra stability. And I'm going to take you around back. It runs, I'm going to say, about 25 feet to an oak tree in the back. So let's walk back there. All right, got you back here at the oak tree, which it's tied off on. And I didn't bring a ladder, but maybe you can follow the line, maybe. And I'll hold it up, but it runs over to that pulley over there. This is a Amazon winch, 4,500 pounds. And you know, I was skeptical, but I said, oh, this will work. So you can kind of see it is lag bolted to the tree. It's got 4 lag bolts. I made kind of some arms for it to mount on, and just for extra security, tie strapped it around on the top and the bottom. Somebody does, when this thing is being pulled up, somebody does have to come back here with, I stole this from my mom, and you've kind of got to tug the line down in order to keep it from spooling on itself when you're pulling it in. So basically what that tells me is I probably mounted it a little low, and before we ever lay it down again and put it back up, I'm going to need to shift it up probably about 6 inches or so, which won't be hard. I can tell you that I put it down and lifted it up several times before the final voyage up, and I had no problems. I would just bring a very large battery back here. This hooks to the battery. You have a switch here. You also have the remote that came with the winch, and it lifted it up fine. And that was with, you know what? That was with everything That was with everything on the excuse me. That was with all the pieces of the tower, but not the 2-inch conduit nor the antenna. And I had no problems at all lifting it with just the battery. But just, you know, something else for y'all to chew on if you ever go to decide to do this is that piece of conduit right there. The piece of conduit, the antenna, and the brackets that are holding it, probably about 50 pounds altogether. And yeah, I would say about 50 pounds, because that's not a full 10-foot piece of conduit. It's only about 7 feet. But that added so much weight where the battery alone would not pull it. So what we ended up having to do is, thank God, Paul had a 25-foot pair of jumper cables. I pulled my tractor up here. We ran the jumper cables around to where the battery sat, plugged it in, and that was enough to get it up. And it was very, very slow. I mean, I was sweating bullets because I didn't think it was gonna make it. But it did. It was slow, and you know, we got it up there. So that's the winch system, along with once again the pulley. See if I can get it in there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. And you know, one of the things somebody said is, well, you should have gone up higher with your where you tied it off to the tower. And yeah, I mean, if I could have gotten it up higher, I would have, but you're limited on height here, right? If that were the case, I would have had to have had a taller pulley, because the pulley needs to be even where it's tied off on the tower. Well, I keep pointing and you can't see. And I didn't want to go up any higher on this tree, because let me be honest with you, when there is full tension on that pulley, that branch of that tree, and it's not small, it comes out about 4 to 6 inches, right? And then, of course, once the high tension is off, it goes back. But you know, that was kind of why we, you know, why I put it where I did. I didn't want to get up in that smaller section of the tree. So that's the pulley system. Let's go take a look at the coax. All right. So here is the 7/8 inch Heliax feed line that we use, and this is one of the adapters that you have to use. These are the ones that, if you buy them new here in the US, $80 a pop, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the size of it. I don't have small hands, but that is it. You have to take it apart. There's supposed to be another gasket that fits up in here. I broke it, so it's short. Short one. But let me move this camera a little closer. So what has to happen is, if you don't want to pay almost $300 for a special tool that you put on a drill and you can just touch it to the end of this and it makes everything perfect, well, you've got to do everything by hand. We tried using a Dremel. It was not very effective. This stuff is no freaking joke, guys. But you have, and look it up. It's 7/8 inch Heliax. There's no wire to this. Just call it all pipe. The line loss on this type of feed line is next to nothing. And knowing that we, you know, I'm not proud of only kicking out 27, 28 watts, but knowing that we don't have a lot to play with, I didn't want to lose a lot. So that's why we went with this. Some people said it's overkill, and I agree, right? It probably is. But but I'm okay with it for the price we paid. It wasn't that bad. But what you have to do is, first of all, when you're going to go to put one of these big old things on, is you have to trim this right in the middle of a ridge, not a peak, not a valley, because when you slip this on, these teeth, let me get a close-up for you. These teeth have to compress on and grab that ridge. All right, and if you're off by any fraction of an inch, it's not going to grab right, and it's going to slip off. You won't even be able to tighten it once you're on there. So since the good old Dremel was kind of on the weak side, we were left with using a grinder with a big old cutoff wheel. I mean, there's a difference between scratching your ass and ripping the whole thing right off, and let me tell you, to get both of these on, it probably took us an hour on each end. I had to put a female on one and a male on the other, but these are just standard, regular end type, but just have this big old honking thing. This sits down in the middle of that I guess you can say center conductor, but it looks like the water line that goes to the back of your fridge. I mean, try to pull this, but I mean, look, guys, that's the tip of my finger. It's gigantic. So, but let me tell you, after seeing the results, oh God, it's gonna fall. Sorry. After seeing the results we're getting from it, I'm glad we went that direction. So we finally got these connected. That was one of the big hang-ups last Sunday, is getting these just right. Of course, you got to waterproof everything, get everything, nice and snug, waterproof it all, and yeah. But if you've never seen one of these, God, they are ginormous. And if you have a use for 1/7 inch heliacs in female, let me know. I'll probably donate it to you, because I don't plan on using these anymore. And if you need 25 feet of it, let me know, because I won't be using it. But that's the coax. Let's see. Let me look at my notes. Yeah. So that's kind of all the parts of it, so to speak. I'll put that there. Let me get you flipped back around and tell you about the results. So all in all, with all the work, all the money, labor, whatever you want to call it, the results are phenomenal. We were not looking to extend the range. We knew we probably would. We don't want to necessarily bleed all the way up into San Antonio. I wouldn't worry about going as far west as we could go. I'd be okay with that. San Antonio, they kind of have their own thing going on with a lot of linked repeaters, and we will not be, nothing against them, but this is for Medina County, right? We will not be linking it with any other repeater system throughout the country. It's just something that our group has decided against. There's another repeater in Medina County that they have considered linking up, but I think there's a frequency issue. One of the repeaters in San Antonio, they interfere. Something, I don't know. Any of those guys, if they're out this way, are welcome on, always welcome on ours. We just decided not to link them. But we wanted better coverage in the county, and we definitely got it. The antenna is well above the highest hill in the immediate area. There are probably some higher hills up north of us towards Bandera, Texas, that we're just going to have to contend with. We have Plan B for that. The only other upgrade that we could potentially do is get a full 50 watts going out the stick at the top, right? Which usedradios.com, I've been working with them. They're digging up one that we may end up installing that will give us a full 50 watts at the top, and that'll help get us up in those hills. I mean, if the hill's here and the valley's here and the repeater's here, then we'll never overcome that, right? But as far as height, we're exactly where we want to be. Hitting it from places we could not before. I have updated my GMRS, so please go find the Dunley repeater and take a look at it. And you know, I guess that's really it. I hope this helps anybody who's considered putting one of these up. I figured it was going to take me longer than it did. I mean, all in all, it's been about 2 months, and it wasn't as hard as I thought. Probably because I paid that guy $100 to dig that 3x3 hole. God, I wasn't looking forward to that. So I went to next door and I said, "Hey, I'll hire somebody to dig a hole." The guy goes, "I'll do it for $100." Oh, no. He called and he called me and he goes, "Yeah, I'll do it for $50." I said, "Dude, if you get out here and you dig me a hole 3x3x3, I'll give you $100 and I'll buy you beer." He's like, "I'll be there tomorrow." I was like, "Good, come on." So I happened to be out of town, but I've already flashed some pictures of it. But he did a great job. Use next door if you need anything like that done. I can't really think of anything else. Once again, I just wanted to document this and answer some questions I had got. If I left you with more questions than answers, I'm sorry. Post them in the bottom or in the comments down at the bottom, and I'll get them answered. If I have too many, I may have to do another video. But all the guys in the group are tickled pink that we're getting the service we are now, and it's a lot of fun. So we have 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to pick some prizes, and I'm sorry. So I don't know if you can tell, I've had some kind of freaking eye infection. That's why I didn't do a video sooner. I mean, I look like death warmed over, at least on the right side of my face. So that's why I didn't do this video sooner. I hadn't done any videos showing this ugly mug because my eye was all jacked up. We hit the 1,000 subscribers. I'm gonna pick a bunch of prizes. We're gonna give them out. If you have not already, go find us on Facebook groups. It's Medina County, Texas GMRS. I think we're up to 160, 180 members. Love everybody being in that. We all get to chat, and some funny guys in there that'll make some funny comments. It's gives me something to look forward to every day, going on there and seeing what y'all have to say. Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoy all of you, all of your comments, and thanks for supporting my channel. I hope you all have a great day. I'll get some more videos out soon, and we'll see you later. Y'all be good. Thanks.